The Predator has to be the funniest comedy of 2018. It's not a comedy? What do you mean it's not a comedy? Oh.
Ugly mother.
I've always had a soft spot for the Predator. First appearing in 1987's Predator, the Predators are a mysterious alien race who use their highly advanced technology to hunt other beings for sport and collect their body parts as trophies. That sounds familiar. It's an intriguing premise, but just like everything else good in this world, it was soon squandered, as later installments in the franchise failed to deliver on this potential. And let's not even talk about the crossovers. So when I heard that Fox were releasing a new one, lazily titled The Predator, my first thought was, how badly are they going to f this one up? A lot, it turns out, because they made what should have been a horror film into a comedy. Test audiences couldn't stop pissing themselves with laughter, which is not an ideal reaction to a sci-fi horror action IP. A leaked script, as well as testimony from those who worked on the film, confirmed that Fox had cooked up a real sandwich. The studio resorted to some serious cuts, reshoots and re-edits, desperately trying to stave off an impending disaster. Not that it worked. If these changes improve the film, I can't even imagine what it was like before, because the result is a butchered and crudely stitched together Frankenstein's monster, full of bad editing, forced fan service, and a nonsensical story with glaring and fatal plot holes. And you all know how I feel about those. And these changes completely fail to remove the unintentional hilarity from the film, while also failing to add any horror. The elements that are supposed to be frightening aren't. The violence is so slapstick and over the top that I burst out laughing multiple times. It doesn't help that the CGI is atrocious at times, reminding me of Food Fight in terms of quality. Just, don't tell the cinematographer. And the parts that are supposed to be funny...
Hey Baxley, if your mom's vagina were a video game, it'd be rated E for everyone.
Often aren't. This is not surprising, given that writer-director Shane Black was responsible for side splitters like this.
I was going down to my girlfriend. I said to her, "Jeez, you got a big pussy. Jeez, you got a big pussy." She said, "Why did you say that twice?" And I said, "I didn't." See, it's because of the echo.
Since he was in the original film, you'd think he'd treat the franchise with a great deal of respect, but that's not what comes across. Besides the rest of the abysmal writing, the Predators have lost most of what made them compelling in the first place. Some of the early posters featured the slogan, "You'll never see him coming." Well, that's not true, because we see them almost as soon as the film starts. And their infamous active camouflage and stalking techniques are thrown aside as they repeatedly decloak and reveal themselves for no reason. One of the Predators loses its cloaking abilities right at the start of the film, but this significant handicap feels rushed and unearned, and forcing it into full view like this makes it feel very... unpredatory? There's one scene where it's just walking around casually gunning people down like it's in GTA. It's ridiculous. All the mystery is stripped away. There's nothing special about the Predators anymore. They're just like any other movie monster now. It's not just a letdown, it's insulting. And to add insult to injury, there's some retconning so unbelievably bad it would make J.K. Rowling cringe. The rest of the characters are also questionable. The protagonist is boring, the quirky group of sidekicks are irritating, and the supporting cast is forgettable. In fact, Olivia Munn might be the best thing about this film. There's just something about the way she looks when she's naked and cowering in fear. Nah, she's just as bad as everyone else. But considering what they were working with, there was no way they were going to come out on top. The writing is moronic. Not only do the characters act like idiots, but too many times the film outright explains to the audience what has just been established by the action on screen, as if we're idiots. And on the other hand, sometimes it doesn't explain things that need to be explained, hence the logical gaps in the story. The Predator is an utter mess. The reason this review took me so long to make is because it has so many problems that I kept finding new ones even as I was editing, and I'm having to gloss over a lot of them. Stuff like continuity errors, the completely forgettable soundtrack, the obvious stock sound effects, and the piss poor editing. And believe it or not, there are some things about this film that are even worse than what I've already talked about, but there's already so much shit to shovel through, so I better get on with it, I guess. Yay. It opens with a Predator ship crashing down to Earth. In daylight, but when it actually hits the ground, it's the middle of the night. Great start. We're introduced to Quinn, our forgettable action hero, who wastes no time establishing himself as an arsehole by betting that the Mexican drug cartel he is spying on have murdered their hostages.
Two morons really making bets on whether a drug cartel has executed these hostages.
Absolutely. I believe that was implied, yeah.
Just checking, I'm in for 20.
Nice. The Predator ship quite literally crashes the party, and Quinn goes to investigate. He finds the Predator's mask and gauntlet and decides to take them as evidence.
It's evidence. Ain't nobody gonna believe this one.
The Predator kills one of Quinn's men and takes the time to string him up, having removed his spinal cord, but not his skull, as is traditional for Predators to do when they collect trophies. Details like these will become important later, so bear them in mind. The Predator kills Quinn's other body, but the gauntlet fires in self-defense, knocking the Predator down. It also cuts his friend's body in half, which is quite funny. He wakes up and he cheeses it. A helicopter drops off some Area 51 wannabes who are here to capture the Predator. Their leader spouts off about how the Predator is extremely dangerous, but then why has he only brought 4 men to capture it?
A 4-man crew for me? It's f***ing insulting.
And I'm sorry, but I cannot take this guy seriously as an authority figure and antagonist when he's chewing Nicorette gum. Bring back cigars, you pussies. Quinn reaches a bar and wants the owner to mail the Predator's stuff into the US. Why does he trust that this guy will send it off and not just steal it? Quinn is arrested right after this, so why wouldn't the owner just take it after he sees him getting arrested? And why don't the people who arrest him interrogate the owner and search the premises? So many assumptions have to be made here. Oh, but that's the story, just go with it. Earlier, the gauntlet spat out a silver ball, which Quinn somehow now knows is a cloaking device and how to use it, despite there being no previous scene establishing this. He decides to swallow it, which is pretty dumb considering what it is. Then he gets captured and we cut to a school attended by Quinn's autistic son Rory. Some twats pull the fire alarm, and because of his autism, Rory reacts badly to this. But if a pupil would react this way to a fire alarm, why on earth has he not been put in a special needs school? Or at least assigned a special needs assistant to help him evacuate in the event of a fire? And why did everyone else in the class, including the teacher, just leave him to burn? Bastards! The twats bully him for having Asperger's before also abandoning him. He picks up the chess pieces and puts them back on the boards in what is supposed to be the same order they were before. This is meant to establish him as a savant, and it might if the pieces were actually put back in the same order, which they're not. And at this point, we need to talk about autism. Rory's autism is heavily employed throughout the film and is essential to its story. It's another example of Hollywood autism, wherein a character's disability makes them a super genius or gives them some incredible skill or ability, glossing over the fact that the vast majority of autistic people aren't like this at all. It's a tired trope, but it wouldn't be so bad if the autistic characters were portrayed with a level of sensitivity and consistency, but neither of those is present here. The Predator uses autism lazily as a crutch to hold up the plot, making barely any attempt to address the issues that come with being an autistic savant and throwing around the R word with no nuance. And Rory's autism is literally all over the spectrum. There's no consistency. Most of the time he can't look people in the eye, but sometimes he deliberately does so. He gets freaked out by loud noises like fire alarms and dogs barking, but is completely unfazed by the explosions and gunfire he experiences later. Sometimes he seems to be severely autistic, and other times he's perfectly normal. He can do whatever the plot needs him to do, because his autism was written to fit the story, and not the other way around, as we'll repeatedly see. When he gets home, he finds a note from his mum saying not to mess up the house or else she'll cut him. Jesus, that's not an appropriate thing to say to a kid with autism. On the plus side, his mum is played by the actress who modelled Miranda Lawson from Mass Effect. Oh, happy memories. A postman delivers his dad's package to the house because his P.O. box payments are past due? This, combined with the mailing of the package via a shady barman, is a really contrived way of making sure the Predator's gear ends up in Rory's hands. Elsewhere, some goons go to pick up Olivia Munn's character, Dr. Brackett, and for some reason she already looks absolutely traumatized. They don't say who they are, where they're from, or show any ID, but she goes off with them anyway. Didn't you ever learn about stranger danger? On that note, fun fact, in this scene she was originally meant to rebuff some creep who was hitting on her, but then it turned out that actor was a convicted sex offender, and the director knew about this. So when she found out, she outed him to everyone and demanded the studio cut his scene completely, which they did. And yes, it did make things awkward as behind the scenes. I could understand wanting to give your friend a second chance, but casting someone who's been convicted of luring a 14-year-old girl as a sexual predator. What? Words fail me. You can't make this shit up. I could just end the video right now because that fact alone is funnier than anything I could have said about this film. What a complete shit show. Meanwhile, Quinn is being interrogated while the G-Men watch. If they know he's had contact with aliens and their technology, why would they not take him straight to their super secret base? Especially if they're the ones who captured him. Even if they're trying to make him look insane so they can blame the Mexico incident on him and cover up the Predator, a prisoner with such sensitive information would not be held for interrogation at the Department of Veterans Affairs, which doesn't have the authority to handcuff him or transport him on a prison bus. This is how he meets the gang of disturbed veterans affectionately known as the Loonies. Get it? Because they're all crazy? They go around the room and explain who they are like they're at an AA meeting, which is the most ham-fisted way they could have done this introduction. They all have one defining characteristic, which is to do with mental illness, and that's pretty much all we get to learn about them. They're meant to be a motley crew of lovable screwball misfits, but they're poorly developed and annoying.
How do you circumcise a homeless man?
Here it comes.
Kick your mom in the chin.
In fact, this entire scene is them acting like teenagers.
Shut the up!
You shut the up.
Especially Coyle, the joker of the group.
When you're standing at attention before your maker.
I always stand at attention before I make her.
Good one. I'm sure all the over 18s watching this are rolling in the aisles. And then there's Baxley. He has Tourette's. That's his character.
In the face with an aardvark.
Occasionally it's used as a plot point, but mostly it's just an excuse to make pussy jokes and for the film to use an embarrassing condition for a cheap laugh.
Why, Baxley? Why do we make more?
Baxley.
Because cock. Because we cock. That's it. Because we cocks.
Classy. At the super secret base, Brackett meets the chief scientist, who practically comes in his pants. Turns out she's an evolutionary biologist. They even use the cliched line,
I heard you basically wrote the book on evolutionary biology.
ugh.
Holy shit. That's alien technology.
No shit. And quick question, why have they left the alien technology so blatantly on display? Why is it not stored away in some kind of vault? I'll give you a hint. Fan service. But what they actually want her to examine, aside from his prostate, is the captured predator. The film hammers home just how insufferable both it and Munn's character are with this stupid, pedantic dialogue.
Why do you call it the predator?
You know, the data suggests that it tracks its prey, exploits weakness, seems to, well, enjoy it.
That's not a predator, that's a sports hunter. A predator kills its prey to survive. I mean, what you're describing is more like a bass fisherman.
Well, we took a vote. Predators cool it, right?
I'll bet the writers thought they were being very clever and self-aware when they wrote this shit. So they find that the predator has human DNA, and they called her in because of her expertise in hybrid strains, which gets condescendingly reduced to,
You want to know someone an alien.
remember, audience dumb. She's shown some photos of previous predators. The first is a still from the original Predator film, but since Dutch was the only one alive to witness this, and didn't have a camera, how was this picture taken? The second is from Predator 2, which came out in 1990, but is set in 97, which is when the photo should be dated to, you imbeciles. Brackett wants to know about the Predator's technology and to talk to Quinn. Why though? She's there to test whether or not the Predator is a hybrid strain or crossed with a human. So what relevance do those have?
Who is this?
He made first contact with the Predator.
Well, technically not first contact, but yeah. But because of this, Quinn's prison bus gets rerouted. Back at the house, Rory opens his dad's parcel, the nosy c***. And while he's messing around with the Predator tech, he accidentally summons Cthulhu. Sorry, another predator. And this one's a super predator. And at the super secret base, they discover it's heading straight towards them. The other predator conveniently wakes up, easily breaks free of his restraints, and starts murdering everyone. I understand. I'm not a morning person either. The chief scientist gets shot, but they keep it in the background because f*** him, I guess. Brackett grabs a vial of the predator's piss, but can't get past the decontamination room. The predator ignores her, probably because he didn't want to get cut out of the film as well. He's pissed off about his missing mask and gauntlet, and is somehow able to use one of the other masks to see through a camera in his own mask, thereby discovering that Rory has it, and sets off to find him. Brackett, now fully clothed, unfortunately, decides to try to subdue the predator with a tranquilizer gun. Considering everything she just witnessed, that seems like a pretty dumb idea, but okay. The loonies, who have now arrived at the super secret base, see the predator escaping, and they decide they need to get the f*** out of there too. Hoyle tells more dumb jokes.
What's the difference between 5 big black guys and a joke? Baxley's mom can't take a joke.
In order to start a fight, which lures in the guards so they can overpower them and break free. And the guards walk right into it because they're f***ing morons, as are all the grunts in this film. Surely they would have waited until they'd made the other prisoners lie down on the ground. And why didn't the guard with the gun hang back out of reach to threaten the prisoners with it? This is so dumb. Then, instead of escaping, Quinn decides he wants to kill the predator, and the others are just like, alright. Well, they are loonies, I suppose. In her pursuit of the predator, Brackett jumps onto the roof of their bus. That is one tough evolutionary biologist. Like, really? Quinn's attempts to kill the predator go about as well as you'd expect. She quite literally shoots herself in the foot, just like her acting career, and then falls off the bus.
Get to the choppers!
You know that reference we just made?
Get to the chopper!
That was cool, right? You remember that? This is a good movie! You're enjoying this movie! A soldier finds Brackett on the ground, and the head alien guy, whose name's Traeger by the way, tells him to kill her. She was trying to help them get the predator back, so why kill her? Was it because she stole some alien piss? That seems a bit harsh, but she gets saved when De Chopper comes to her. She holds on to Quinn as they ride off. How she's meant to maintain her grip after being tranquilized is anyone's guess. Meanwhile, the predator kills a bunch of troops and escapes in their truck.
Everything okay back there?
Is everyone in this film a f***ing idiot? The loonies go to a motel and Brackett gets left alone with these nutcases. But it's okay apparently because they're soldiers.
They're soldiers, man. Sleepy ladies? Nah, man.
Well, alrighty then. This porno has really high production values though.
Morning, sunshine.
I really wish people would stop calling me that.
What are you talking about? Nobody's called you that in the last 40 minutes. Oh god, we're only 40 minutes in. Things escalate quickly. Tourette's guy has Tourette's.
Eat your pussy.
Wait, what?
How you doing?
And they make a big thing of that.
You're insane, right? Are you insane?
Well, that's not a very nice thing to say, considering he has Tourette's. Despite the terrible jokes, they decide to join forces, and they dump their hot, steamy info all over each other. The film does a lot of this lazy exposition.
It's called The Predator. It hunts people for sport.
Technically, it's not a predator.
Oh, fuck off, you smug pricks.
I took its gear.
What?
So I have evidence.
Evidence of what? The predator killing his men?
The guys in Mexico it killed? They yours? They're gonna need a patsy for that.
You're looking at him.
But he said he needed it as evidence before he knew his men were dead, so that doesn't make sense. Quinn comes to the house looking for the package with the predator's gear, but Rory isn't there. Despite his saying earlier that he doesn't want to wear a mask for Halloween because people will still know it's him, I guess he decided that this mask was cool enough. The loonies are f***ing around in the house. They tell his ex-wife about the predator.
It's like it's a creature. Seriously, it's not a person.
Look from the Bible. Revelations.
From the Bible? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's a space alien.
And she believes them very quickly, which is somewhat odd considering what they just said, and the fact that Quinn just called them loonies, but alright. Quinn goes off to find Rory. Most of the loonies want to sit tight, so Nebraska asks about Quinn, and his ex-wife basically reads out his service record, and probably knows more than she should about his military career and kill count. Then we get a dragged out scene where one by one the loonies decide to follow Quinn.
I didn't like your speech. It didn't really inspire me. What? He called me a pussy and nobody calls me pussy, so...
Why does he have a picture of Rory under his arm? Why is he taking that with him? Oh yeah, it's because his one character trait is being weird as f***. The picture never appears again, and I don't even want to hazard a guess as to what he does with it. The bullies from earlier recognise Rory. He tries to get away from them by trick-or-treating. Nobody answers, and while he's walking off, some douche throws a can at him. So the mask activates, kills the douche, and blows up the entire house. Do you see what I mean about this being a comedy? Not only is Rory not fazed by this in the slightest, but he uses the mask to scare off the bullies. This film is really making people with disabilities look great, isn't it? Also, the fact that he just wiped out a house full of people is never addressed again. There are no consequences for this, and for absolutely no reason at all, he drops the mask. This fucking movie, man. I can't keep doing this to myself. Yeah, I'm going to leave it here for now, because I've been off antidepressants for a while, and I'd quite like to keep it that way. So part 2 will be out next week, and rest assured, you'll want to tune in for that, because this film gets so much worse. See you then.